Blog Talk Radio.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, Executive Producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all.
Tune in to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon.
For joining us on this Thursday edition of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and we'll be joining Dr. Debbie Green as she gives us insight. What happens when we no longer want to live? How does the mind conceive such a thought? How does this thought become a plan and an action to be carried out? There are many factors involved in suicidal ideations. However, it's not spontaneous behavior. Every thought has a seed, a mental and emotional seed. Seeds have to be watered, in this case, fed mental energy to become an action or behavior. Join Dr. Debbie Green as we discuss this matter in full. In these cases, fear is the culprit. Come learn how the mind gets gripped with fear and does the unimaginable. It self-destructs. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death in the United States, and it leaves no answers. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death in the United States, and it leaves no answers and leaves voids in those left behind. Again, the culprit is fear. So we're going to join Dr. Debbie Green as she gives us some insight about the process that the mind goes through before making a decision to commit suicide. And if you have ever been suicidal, this is the show for you. And, of course, Dr. Debbie Green, who addresses suicide every day, has seen the patterns of behavior and has understood what happens in the mind as a person goes into self-destructive behavior. What do you do when you as an individual have reached the end of your rope? Are there signs? Sometimes a person leaves a suicide note, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes family members have seen signs, and sometimes they have not. It's not always easy to recover after a loved one has taken their own life. And sometimes those who are left behind are traumatized for life. And the trauma doesn't always just include family members. We've had some high-profile suicides. We've had people who are well-known celebrities, and we've had people who have been prominent figures whose suicide affected the entire nation. So how do we address suicide when we are the ones considering it? Who do we talk to? Often there's shame involved, where people are afraid to speak. They're afraid to others know that they're in that point of despair, perhaps feeling that their life is worthless and they would be better off if they died. Well, this is not a subject that you can ignore, especially if you are feeling suicidal, feeling full of despair, feeling that no one cares. And sometimes people may give hints. They may make statements. They may even they may even indicate that they're thinking about it. And often the people around them will wave it away. Oh, girl, you ain't going to do none of yourself. Oh, she just wants attention. Yeah, they may want attention. They may want you to talk them out of it. And many times after a suicide, people will remember that they had signs. People will remember that there was erratic behavior, maybe giving away your things to people who are not aware that you're thinking of taking your life, and suddenly you're giving away your important, valuable assets. And one of the things that people are able to do, sometimes they're able to articulate that they are in distress emotionally, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's possible. Sometimes it's possible that we are able to find out that they're under distress, and sometimes it hits everyone by surprise. But one of the things that is difficult is when you are caught by surprise. And when you are caught by surprise, there is often feelings of guilt. There's often feelings of guilt because people are unaware.
Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So much technology this morning. Yeah. All right. Okay. We're just going to keep on going the best we can here. Okay.
All right. Are we able to hear now? Yeah. Well, we'll switch the lines for the guest line at the break.
get a grip on it. So you go to the doctor. They prescribe you some medication for, antidepressant, anxiety. But then it still just takes the damper off of it. It still doesn't remove it. The pain is still there. Again, you keep living, you keep moving, you keep going through, because you have to live. And you may even have a family. You got, and a lot of times people have families and they don't even express what they feel to their families.
Now, I have a question about that.
People don't even know the history. A person has attempted suicide or thought about suicide.
Well, I have a question about that because one of the things that a lot of people do if somebody starts to say things like, I don't even know if I want to live anymore, or, I wonder what would happen if I died tomorrow, or, I wonder if people would come to my funeral. I mean, people start to say things when they're in that state of depression. And I had a friend who recently, was telling me about a friend of hers that would say things like that, and she said, "Holly girl just wants attention." But yeah, I'm sure if a person is at that level of depression, they do want attention. Maybe they want somebody to talk them out of it, And my friend was saying, "Oh, well, people who are really going to commit suicide, they don't even talk about it; they just do it." I'm like, okay, but what if this person is reaching out to you or giving you hints that they need you to reassure that that life is worth living or that you care or something. I thought her response was based on the myth that, it was insensitive, and just the idea that people who are going to commit suicide never talk about it, they just do it, and people who talk about it, they just want attention. But are there signs that people give when they are in such a state of depression that they're thinking of taking their own life, that people should look for? And if someone does indicate that they're thinking about it, what is a more appropriate way to respond?
Well, the signs that when a person is giving up, you have to first know the history of that person. If that person, again, has suffered any type of trauma in their life, severe trauma is mild, moderate, or severe trauma, and has bouts of depression and anxiety at an early age, and have not received or have even received some type of help, they show signs of what they call lack of communication, early symptoms of mental illness, as well as where they start shutting down very easily. People that have a fear-based mindset are more seduced, I have to say that word, to life pressures, where they cannot funnel through, they can't decipher, they can't weed through it, and it becomes a serious situation. People who have never had that giving up syndrome, because everyone has, we have given up on a lot of things in life, and I mean, most people that suffer with suicide are saying, "Oh, I can't take this anymore." How many times most people are saying that? I can't go on like this.
Yeah, a lot of times. We've all said it. Yeah.
We have said that many times, okay? So those are thoughts where you're ready to end something, but it's still going on. So in a person's mind with suicide ideation, and we call it ideation because these are ideas. Ideas are either, again, mild, moderate, or severe. You can have passive suicide ideation. What if I didn't wake up tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a passive suicide ideation, right? And the person may say, I'm tired of this. I can't take this anymore. I'm at my ends with this. I'm tired of going through this. This is never ending. I can't catch a break. Okay? Those are passive SIs. And we all say things like that. It says, but see, what happens when it changes? So a person that listens and hears that and thinks minimally of that, I guess because I'm a clinician, I don't think minimally of that. So when someone says that to me, I ask them a question. I say, well, okay, what are you feeling? Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe mentally? means that you're going to look for an escape. You're going to look for escape. First, one looks for an escape mentally. That's why the levels of mental death starts in the mind. So if they can't seem to get, escape mentally, you say, what does that mean? That means I'm trying to distract myself so that I can make a better decision, or trying to find some way out of what I'm thinking. You see what I'm saying? I want this thing to end. I don't want it to keep going on. It could be a broken relationship. It could say, okay, when people are in relationships and they are fragility is one of those areas of suicide ideation. When you're fragile means that you're sensitive. You're more sensitive than most to life. When things start to happen, you feel attacked. You feel like a caged-in animal. Okay, now we got an issue.
Mm-hmm.
That means you no longer feel safe. So to answer your question, most people who hear someone say that, they'll say, oh, no, they're not going to do nothing. They're just talking. Well, the thing about this is one can take a chance and just assume that they're just talking. But the thing about it, they don't make themselves present. Like, okay, do you feel safe? Are you okay? No, I don't feel safe. I'm losing it. I'm about to fall apart, and I don't know what to do. Okay, that person needs to talk to someone.
They're
contemplating. That's
yeah.
what they're doing.
And not everybody not everybody has the skill of being a listening ear for someone. I mean, I have some friends that might know how to say some comforting things. I have other friends I would never go to with a problem because they'll say the worst things. They're the kind of person that make you go and jump out of a window. I mean, they don't know how to be comforting. They don't, because they think, and maybe they were raised this way, you got to give people tough love. It's like, yeah, he left you, so what? I mean, get over it. Saying things like that, which aren't helpful. They may feel like they are. Or, yeah, they fired you. You lost your job. You're about to lose your home. Well, you'll be all right. People that really believe that what they're saying is helpful, going to make you tougher, they're not the kind of people that, one should talk to if they're really feeling down. And, I've even heard people say things like, I'm not babying these people, they whining all the time. When somebody's coming to them with a problem, and because maybe that's how they were raised, maybe that's how their parents responded to them when they were in pain, it's kind of like, oh, toughen up, So they just feel like the best way to deal with somebody who's going through an emotional crisis is to just tell them, tough it up, just hey, get over it. And these are probably not the people that one should go to when one is in emotional distress and needing some type of nurturing. That's my thought. But I don't know if others have been through situations where they really were at their wits' end, about to, jump out of the 50-story building window or take a bottle of pills and call it the end. I don't know if people have been in that situation and then had someone use that tough love kind of approach and it worked. I don't know if it's ever worked. To me, it seems real insensitive, and I don't know if people know that they're not helpful in that approach because that might have been what they think they should do if someone comes to them with a problem who's in distress. I know we got to take a break, but maybe when we come back, you can address ways to respond to somebody, even if somebody's not a counselor or a professional, but just as a friend. If a friend comes to you with serious emotional distress, what is a helpful way to respond if they indicate they might be considering suicide or might just really be at that point where they could do something self-destructive because they just want the pain to end. So what do you say to them? So we'll be right back after this quick break. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325, and press 1 so that we know you have something to say. And have you ever been at your wit's end where you've actually considered suicide? And what happened? We'll be right back after this quick break, so stay with us.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
Everything you need, what your body needs, is found in nature. So Susan Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Susan Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000 nutritional products, and they are shipped direct to your door. Because Susan Essentials is certified in plant-based healing, we're permitted to offer you the best nutritional supplements on the planet. They're non-GMO and sustainably produced, and we take the guesswork out for you. Let Susan Essentials help you take control of your health today.
Do you worry about finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down-to-earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul, whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to ZeldaSpeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's ZeldaSpeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit ZeldaSpeaks.com.
Tune in to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon.
Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Viata, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on The Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Purpose Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of unity, enlightenment, and love vibrations. Shalom.
Oh, man, God sent the monthly sun bill today. This sunlight is really expensive, especially during this season. I'll probably have to work overtime to pay it.
Well, you better pay it on time. We don't want the sun to go out and we're sitting up here all day in the dark.
Wouldn't it be terrible if God charged us for sunlight? Well, thank God, the light and heat from the sun is free. So why are we paying such high bills for the energy we use in our homes? Because we don't know how to use solar energy, the free energy from the sun. You can convert your regular home to a solar energy home and save tremendously on your electric bill. Take a look at your electric bill. Wouldn't you like to reduce or possibly even eliminate that cost altogether? Let one of our solar consultants show you how. Call today, 312-849-3456, and schedule a free consultation. That's 312-849-3456.
What happens when a group of people are kidnapped from their homes, smuggled away in chains, and held captive in a foreign land where they are tortured, raped, and forced to perform hard labor by the lash of a whip and under the constant threat of death? Slavery, the African American psychic trauma. What happened to the doctors, writers, scientists, builders, educators, and spiritual leaders from Africa's golden age? Who did they really capture and sell into slavery? Are all African Americans suffering from psychic trauma because of a conspiracy to hide their true identities? Do you have psychic trauma? Take the test on page 22 of the book and see. Order it online today at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com, and get your personally autographed copy of the book, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma.
Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
Suicidal Essentials leads you to wellness by giving you access to more than 20,000 sustainably produced nutritional products delivered direct to your door.
Suicidal Essentials is re-engineering what health looks like by leading you to the best wellness initiatives in the world. Start your coaching plan today and create a new paradigm of health. Click here to learn more. Jody Susan of Susan Essentials is certified by the #1 functional medicine doctor on plant-based healing essential oils, which are revolutionizing the way we manage our well-being. Schedule today to take control of your health.
I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata.
Do you worry about finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down-to-earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul, whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to zeldaspeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's zeldaspeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit zeldaspeaks.com.
Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, Executive Producer of the Female Solution Global Radio TV Show. We are a part of the online network of Associated Internet Radio hosts, On Air. On Air empowers you with transformative news and interactive radio TV shows. This is such a wonderful time to be alive and to see our human family coming together as one community as a result of that powerful tool, the Internet. We can now talk directly to each other all over the world. There's no need for conflict or misunderstanding. There's no need for violence to solve our differences. We can talk to each other face to face until we reach an agreement. On Air offers a fantastic global guide to communicators from all over the world who are using their internet platforms to inspire us to strive to be our best selves in order to become the kind, compassionate, loving people we were all born to be. Once we do that, we'll see planet Earth transformed into a place of peace. Subscribe to the recommended YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and podcasts created by these Voices of Enlightenment. On Air provides daily news briefs and a weekly magazine to keep you abreast of events and opportunities. On Air news affiliates in television, radio, and print share information, insight, and interviews with notable personalities. Go to onaireverywhere.com for a daily dose of uplifting news. We're on air everywhere, online all the time.
Yes.
A very challenging thing for a lot of people because most people don't always make themselves known. They feel like they may burden down someone. They feel embarrassed. They can feel withdrawn. They can feel rejected by people. Think about that.
Yes.
If a person's always seen you happy-go-lucky and everything is okay, and this is a poker face that you've been putting on for them for a long time, and then you're not going to just say, hey, I just want to let you know I no longer want to live today. You're not going to come off like you're not going to say it. You're
right.
not. So we find this a lot as far as psychologically, but also in the mental health field, as I've been in for the last 15 years, that most people will really come out and tell you, hey, I've been feeling this for a long time. I just want to let you know I can't go on anymore. You may find it in a letter. You may find it in action. When people start acting off, like giving away things that why are you giving that away?
Yeah, that's a sign. Giving away valuable things, and people say, well, why would she give away something that valuable to her, or why would he, give away his car, or give him, just when it doesn't make sense, when you know that something is important to them and they choose to start giving away their things. Yeah, I've heard that's a sign that someone's seriously planning to leave here.
And you're my friend. We're supposed to be close. We are. I expect you to confide in me in some type of way, and then you hear the story afterwards. You see what I'm saying? Like, someone found you in a hotel. Someone, to another human being other than yourself, and you may know. But the majority of the time, they don't know. They have no idea. People when they choose to, I call it the giving up syndrome. Completely. The death really occurs in the mind, not in the spirit.
Wow.
The physical death does not activate itself until that part has finalized.
Wow.
That's when so you may say, well, all of a sudden this person's committed suicide. No. It's all of a sudden. There is contemplation, a pre-contemplation, then it goes into a plan. From the plan, then the plan gets executed, and from the execution goes the attempt. Right? And all of this takes time. It's not done always in that moment. It takes, because remember, the mind has to close in where there's no more air. No more light.
So there are different, I guess, methods of getting out of this body. There are different methods of ending your life. There are ways that a person might be rescued from, such as maybe taking a bottle of pills. You might be found. They might get you in an ambulance. But something like shooting yourself in the head, I mean, generally that's instant. You don't come back from that. Do you think the way a person chooses to end their life is indicative of how much they may have been decisive about it, or how much they might still be on the edge? Like some ways you might get rescued from, such as taking an overdose of pills. Some ways you're not coming back from, like a shot to the head, and even though there have been people who have been saved after attempting to kill themselves, even what would be a fatal wound, a gunshot wound, somehow they survive. But most of the time, those kinds of instant violent ways are successful suicides because you're not able to be repaired and restored from that. And some ways, I don't know, it seems kind of torturous, like someone drowning themselves. Even though that happens, someone jump off a bridge. Drowning is not a pleasant way to go, but people have done that. Matter of fact, what is that one bridge? I don't know, is the Golden Gate Bridge? One of those famous bridges that people jump off all the time. That seems like a pretty horrific thing to do. I mean, I've seen ways that people choose to end their lives that seem like they would be kind of painful, even slowly torturous. And you wonder, well, what were they thinking? Why would you do something that causes you to suffer, or would seem to cause you to suffer before you exit, and then that causes suffering to your loved ones, thinking about you suffering? Are there ways that people end their lives that they intend to hurt those who they leave behind? Like, oh, he divorced me and he cheated on me. He'll be sorry he did that when he finds that I'm dead. That kind of thing. I don't know. Do people tend to have thoughts of how is their death going to impact the ones they leave behind, or are they at that point just so disconnected they just want to leave and they don't care?
Well, people commit suicide for many different reasons. It's not just the end of it. Also unbinging. Anger turns into rage. We know that by evidence where a person will kill their families and then kill themselves. We've seen that even in serial killers, if you notice it. And so it's not just you got to know there's no rationale, okay? There's no logic. There's no reason. Suicide is impulsive. That's an impulsive behavior that is time-paced. It's an impulsive behavior that morning and says, oh, I'm going to end my life, right? And they thought about that. It has to be a thought. It has to be a thought. It's not an emotion, it's a thought. So what happens with that thought? Let's break that down so you can get a clear understanding. A thought is a seed, Naima. It's a seed, which is that seed has to be given some type of nourishment. And I think our Friday's host, Vieta Robinson, was talking. I want to mention this real quick before I say what I have to say. Grand Rising Queen just heard that suicide rate for veterans is 25 or more a day. Of course, PTSD plays a role, but what about the medication they take with doctors who do know there is medication that has side effects of suicide? But let's think about that. Something that you're taking that changed your mind or is changing your mind or influencing you to self-destruct. Now, if you were already fragile, remember the word fragile. If you were already fragile, this will be a very easy thing to do because it gives you an exit. That's what suicidal ideation is. It's an escape. Is it a logical escape? Is it a reasonable, rational? No. It's impulsive. It's impulsive. And you're like, well, the person does not want to go on. They don't want to continue to live life. So it's right there. But it's a seed. It starts at a thought. And not just phase, long term, short term, how it's going to affect people. No, that's not what they're thinking. That's rational.
And they're irrational.
Exactly.
So I have a question, and she mentioned the drugs that suicidal tendencies is a side effect, which means there has to be something in the drug that's a depressant or something. What is actually happening in the brain? What chemicals in the brain are triggered that would depress a person to the point where they would be susceptible to suicidal thoughts? And a lot of times, you listen to these advertisements for these medications, and they kind of rush through the side effects real quick, and may have suicidal thoughts. I mean, stuff like that. And you're supposed to ignore that. Well, at least I won't have a headache. So obviously there's something in the brain chemistry that is triggered by a drug that brings you to such a state of depression that your mood is affected, your rationale is affected, your thoughts are affected, and you could then feel so sad that you would want to end your life. Is there a particular brain chemistry that is being triggered by certain drugs that could lead to that suicidal ideation? And you speak of what, and if so, what brain chemistry is that? What chemical is being triggered that depresses you to that level?
Well, one thing now, as far as the medication is concerned, because I am not a psychiatrist, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way.
So psychiatrists deal with, I guess, the biochemical aspects of the mind.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I can, expand on behavior and action of the medication.
Mm-hmm.
So the dopamine, the serotonin are extremely low, right? So what I'm saying is that on the normal brain capacity, those chemicals are balanced.
Mm-hmm.
They're balanced. Serotonin is your feel-good type of, chemical. It's like, I feel happy. I feel, cheerful. Dopamine, I feel, I don't feel rigid. I feel that I have a flexibility.
To relax.
You know what I'm saying? Relax to a certain degree. And you have endorphins.
Mm-hmm.
Endorphins are also those feel-good chemicals, right? So when there is an interruption with those chemicals, due to the fact of interruptions in the neuron transmitters from the medication, that is when they start to feel that overwhelming heaviness, overwhelming sadness, hopelessness, because it affects the ego of the mind. Right?
So
it affects the conscious state for that person. So, but idolize. Now, understand something. When a person is like, when they're already in a traumatized situation, I believe Vieta Robinson mentioned a person that has PTSD.
yeah, like a veteran, yeah.
If their mind has already been altered by trauma, this just makes it more inevitable or life-provoking or life-changing, even when those brain chemistry changes occur. So now it's, this is what I'm feeling. Because, again, there's no rational. There's no reason. You're not saying, well, before I took this medication, I wasn't thinking like this. So, no, you just go along with the flow because you think this is already something that's there. So you don't resist it. You don't cipher through it. You don't analyze it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
See, one is to analyze something. Well, analyze that thought, that seed, that's there. You see what I'm saying? Of that thought. So even if a person did not take medication, still having a thought of, I want to leave here. I no longer want to breathe on this earth. The question is this: has there been any, have they analyzed it? Like, why am I feeling like this? How long have I felt this way? No, Okay? Feelings.
Thoughts create feelings.
Feelings and emotions. So those emotions, now to think about the emotions of a suicidal person, if you don't know, the first thing is grief, mourning, fear. Fear is immense. Immense fear. I am so afraid. I can't go on. I can't go on like this. Crying, excessive, what they call not guilt, because they don't feel guilty because they will be convicted if they felt guilt. Guilt will then wake them up. Hey, I shouldn't be doing this because if I do this, I'm going to feel bad. Because no, that's rational. Suicide is a very independent.
It's irrational.
And selfish thing. You only focus on what you feel in that moment, in that time frame. However, from the time you start talking about it to the time you do it.
So
we can see that in so many. Let's just take an example. Okay, let's take an example of Twitch.
Yeah.
Okay, now some people felt he was this happy-go-lucky person. You always saw him happy. You always saw everything was okay. I think it was another underlining effect on why he did what he did, but I just want to kind of keep it real simple. Right? And that's the underlying effect. I don't think it's just for him wanting to die. I think it was something he was trying to prevent from happening.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. He was afraid of something that was going to happen, or he believed something that was going to happen, and the fear of that was what he was trying to prevent. And no one knows if what he feared would have transpired or not, but he believed it to such a degree that he wanted to prevent it and exit this life so that he would not experience whatever that thing was he was fearing would happen.
Right. Okay, so that was, look at the plan, right? So that was obvious. No one knew he was in distress. He was, because this people will show a poker face, right? When you have, and it's always like right before some great event. Regina, I'm trying to remember the actress name that lost her son.
Regina King.
King.
Yeah.
Now this, he had just celebrated New Year's.
Yeah.
He had just celebrated with them. She had no idea that he was feeling the way he felt.
Yeah. No clue. And I think with Robin Williams, he had been diagnosed with some debilitating illness, and so he was fearing. Yeah, he was fearing what was going to be the long-term effects, being someone dependent, his family dependent, being dependent on his family and, deteriorating. So he was fearing that and, chose not to experience that. So like you're saying, people are thinking, even if they think, well, I want to prevent my family from having to take care of me in my illness, even then, it's still a selfish thought, because what if they would have preferred to do that as opposed to you being gone? You don't know what people would have thought. Or even with the situation with Twitch, whatever his situation was, whether somebody was blackmailing him about something, whether he felt he was going to be exposed for something, what if your family would have preferred to help you face that or face that with you as opposed to you being gone? So it's still not a rational thought. It's still thinking of how you'll feel, or how you'll feel shamed, embarrassed, worthless, or whatever, how you'll feel, and you don't want to feel that, and you feel like if you leave, then you'll just feel nothingness. And like you were saying, also with the brain chemistry, anything that suppresses the dopamine, the serotonin, and the endorphins, which are usually naturally balanced and would give you a feeling of well-being, if an event, a trauma, or a thought even suppresses that and you feel bad, then I guess you're not rational, because you're chemically imbalanced in your brain. And then if you take something and that adds to the suppression of those chemicals, then you're really not rational. You're really not in your right mind. And so when a person's not in their right mind, they don't know they're not in their right mind because they're not in their right mind. But I guess my question, even in looking at people who make that decision to end their lives, There has to be a belief of what happens when you're no longer inside this body. Okay, I'm going to leave, and then there'll just be nothingness. I won't exist. So what happened? I mean, most people grow up with some kind of exposure to some kind of religious beliefs or whatever. But wouldn't at the core of their belief have to be that really nothing, that you cease to exist once you leave this body? Wouldn't that have to be the belief or the thought that they have, thinking that, well, if I just die, then it's all over? Instead of, well, I'm not going to die. I'm going to just be somewhere else. I just won't be in this body, but I'm going to still experience life. I mean, what would have to be the thought when a person commits suicide of what's going to happen to their consciousness after they're no longer inside a body? What has to be the belief in order for them to choose to end their physical existence inside of a body? Because that's really what it is. It's not rational.
Think about that. All they think about is ending it. They don't want to
ending the pain.
No more choices, not even no more responsibility. And I think Obadiah, is that I'm sorry, I may be mispronouncing.
Yeah, Obadiah. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, Obadiah Young. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, my best college bud was the most successful, but he committed suicide. Shot himself in the head outside his new lecture.
Wow.
Now, okay, let me address that. Doesn't matter. Suicide is no respect to a person. It doesn't matter how much fame. It doesn't matter how much money. It doesn't matter who is in our life, who's out of our life. It is a solid mental death. It doesn't make any noise. It doesn't give a loud shout. None of that. It doesn't. And we always feel that if I could have, and like you said this, and we said, if I could have reached him, right? If I could have reached him. If I could have reached him. It's like I met one person over the period of my life that committed suicide, and she was 77 years old.
Wow.
And out of all of my years of counseling, okay, since 2014, out of all my years of counseling, I lost one. And the thing about this was, and I know I'm saying this to tell Mr. Young about it. When people come to that area, when they come to the area of that thought pattern, when that thought pattern is there and nothing, it's like they're in a hole. They're in a rabbit hole. And there's no light, there's no recourse, there's nothing. They can't hear anyone, anything. And remember, it's a confirmation. They think about it previously, how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it. Now, with this person that I'm talking about, she wrote a letter. And the thing about this is she didn't have the gun at first. But we took the gun. Now, I had one of her family members take the gun out of her home.
Wow.
It was her father's gun. She had it since she was a teenager. Now, she was living alone. I was counseling her. I was going to see her, talk to her, counseling her, and she kept telling me, she's like, I don't know if I can make it.
Wow.
I don't know if I can go on. Now, she had a son, but they didn't have the best relationship. She had 2 grandchildren that she loved dearly, and her son would always say things like, I don't know if I should let mom see the kids because I don't think mom is mentally healthy. I don't want her to see the children. So he withheld the kids from her, and I told myself, you should not do that. So she felt alone. She felt that she couldn't. She said, I can't keep going on like this. I feel that I'm losing myself. Okay, number one thing. A person that is in that ideation billionaire just stepped off a high-rise building just recently. I don't know if you guys heard about that or not.
What city was that?
Yeah, he committed suicide. He was a billionaire.
So money is not the answer to everything.
No, money is not the answer to nothing. Okay, let's get that.
Money's not the answer to everything. And that's because, like Obadiah just said, his friend with the Lexus. You know, would you figure, okay, you got to have some wealth. You bought this fancy car and then you kill yourself?
Yeah. So what's the rationale in that? You look like you have everything. We can go back to Christy Chris, the same thing. You look like you had everything. She was a beautiful woman. She was
Yeah.
a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She was studying her law degree. But then you're going to step off a 29-foot suit.
Yeah. So the rationale was not there. She didn't see herself as having everything. Whatever was inside of her that was making her sad, that was it.
Self-identity. You lose. Suicide takes your identity from you. It takes your identity of self. It takes your identity of feelings for yourself. It takes your identity of people feeling from other individuals. You no longer feel for your loved ones. Because think about it. If you did, you would not take yourself off the earth.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So it's a closed, very tight, rigid. It started off a long time ago. Low self-esteem, not loving yourself, going through major changes in life, not knowing how to deal with your own grief, not how to deal with your own complications in life, thinking people don't care about you, no one loves me. But that's not true because self-defeat, self-sabotage only leads to self-destruction.
So what happens if the person gets stuck in that mode of thinking, no one loves me, I would be better off dead, no one would care if I was here. I mean, it's like you get stuck in a cycle of thought that creates a sadness, and then the sadness creates more sadness. You start feeding these thoughts of worthlessness, and you can't pull yourself out of it. You can't pull yourself out of it. You are so depressed, and whatever you have, your possessions or whatever, they're not making you feel better, and you're just stuck in that mode of feeling worthless and unloved and unhappy, and you just want the pain to stop. Is there anything that can be done to, I don't know, trigger the brain chemistry to activate endorphins and serotonin and dopamine back up to normal levels so that your thoughts could be more uplifting? I guess maybe that's where addictions come in, when you're so depressed and you need something to artificially boost those brain chemicals, and so you turn to the drugs, which gives you that temporary high, but then once the drug wears off, you're back down low where you were. So it's that roller coaster, up and down and up and down. But how do we learn the skill of mastering our thoughts so that our thoughts can create the uplifting brain chemistry that would then change our mood and bring us back to rational thought? Is that a skill, or is that what counselors do in terms of saying the things that would change the thought? I mean, how do you stop that cycle of depressed thought that ends in suicide?
Well, the thing about it is not so much of stopping it, it's to interrupt it. Because again, people want to leave this earth for many different reasons. It is not just because they're in pain. They may not want to jail, and I guess they want to go to jail or whatever, if I'm understanding that correctly. So he made the choice to no longer stay here on earth and allow himself to exit. So he ended his life because he didn't want to deal with any situation. People people sometimes have terminal illnesses. They choose not to want to do that, want to live and suffer, like you said, so they make that choice as well. But if there's a person that has a depression and there's none of those things that are present, you say, well, how can they feel good? First, they have to get some medication to bring those chemicals back up. Because, see, those chemicals that's in the brain they are the neuron transmitters and the uptake of all of the brain chemistry. So the medication, the antidepressant, is supposed to balance that off. You know, at first they may feel a little loopy, like, you know, a little out of themselves, but if they wait for a couple of weeks, you know, it'll balance it off. Then after that, they need to get some strong, you know, real effective psychotherapy, how to deal with life, how to make better choices, how to respond. Because psychotherapy and medication management goes hand in hand. And even if the person does not have medication management and they have psychotherapy, that the depression is so heavy to the point where they can't even think about anything else but the pain. So both of those things they have to be present during that time.
Well, I have a question. About the suicidal person that is trying to avoid what they fear will be physical pain. And maybe this is an ethical question that comes up a lot. When people have an animal friend, a pet, that is going through suffering, they will euthanize them rather than have the animal suffer pain over a long period of time before they finally transition. What was his name, Dr. Kevorkian, the one that started the assisted suicides, and then the ethical question comes up, does a person have a right to end their life if they believe they're going to experience long-term physical suffering without the hope of getting better? Do they have the right to choose to end their suffering by suicide? And is that something a physician should assist them with? Just like, you know, people who are on death row, you know, you get an injection of whatever that injection is that stops your heart and then you're gone. So physician-assisted suicides by people who are choosing not to suffer pain, is that a choice that is based on rational thought of, I'm going to suffer physically, I'm choosing not to, I'd rather leave peacefully before the physical trauma to my body is something I'm forced to endure for a long period of time before I finally leave. I'd rather just not experience that. Is that a rational suicidal thought? Because people say, well, you know, keep hope alive. You know, you never know when you're going to get better, or they might come up with a cure, but they would prefer not to wait in the hopes of that. They would prefer to not feel the pain that they're anticipating. Is that a rational suicide? And is that something that you foresee medical practitioners being allowed to do if people feel like they have a right to not physically suffer? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think that they should be able to make decisions on their life. That's a tough cookie because, I mean,
yeah.
some do not believe in suicide. I don't believe in suicide when it comes to just ending life. However, if it has to be a really life-threatening situation, like someone would have to say die or your children will die. You know what I'm saying? And you would have to take your own life that your children will live.
I mean, you know, I think things like a person.
That's desperate, right?
See, if a person is maybe if they're diagnosed with an illness, and maybe they're going to be, at the end of their life, they know it may be paralysis, blindness, all kinds of things that would be physically difficult to endure. It's not that you couldn't endure it, but it might be difficult. Or even a lot of physical pain. The physical suffering in the body. You might have a brain tumor, and at some point it's going to cause you a great deal of physical pain, injury to the spine, or something that's going to create so much nerve damage. You're going to be in a lot of physical pain. The only way you're going to be able to survive that is consistent painkillers. But then, if you believe that you're going to be in such a vegetative state that your family will have to take care of you, and you don't want them to suffer or watch you suffer, one might feel that they're making a rational decision to prevent their family from going through the suffering of watching them deteriorate and be in pain. And so I think in a case like, say, with Robin Williams, I think his thought was that he was going to suffer and cause suffering to his family as he went through the stages of this illness. So he believed that, and when that thought was thinking it would better if I ended my life. But then in doing that, you're presuming that other people would not be able to deal with your suffering, and you're presuming that you would not be able to deal with your suffering. But then, it's a choice to not go through it one way or another. I mean, do people have a right to make that choice if they say, look, I just don't want to suffer, or they've diagnosed me with this illness, I know that these are the stages of this illness, I don't want to experience the end stages of it, I'm just going to leave right now while I'm feeling okay, and this is how I want to be remembered. I don't want to be remembered, as a vegetable. I don't want people to remember me that way. I mean, is that a rational suicidal thought? Right. Right. I mean, I think that the choice of life and the ending of life inside this physical body, if we're making it for other people, just like you say, abortion, that's a decision that you're making for someone else who's chosen to live, but you've made a decision that you would prefer them not at this time. Same thing with euthanizing a pet, your cat, your dog. You feel like, well, they are physically suffering. I don't want them to suffer. I'm choosing for them not to experience suffering. I'm choosing for them to leave here peacefully. Just like I'm choosing for my child not to be born into a situation that is not prepared to give them the proper nurturing. So I'm choosing for them not to experience a painful life that would happen if they were born and there's not going to be the support for them. So those are choices that we're making for other people for what we believe is in their best interest. So why can we not make the decision for ourselves if we believe it's in our best interest and the best interest of other people that we not be suffering? And I'm not advocating suicide. I'm just looking at all of the sides of it when people make those decisions, believing that it's a rational decision based on what they're hoping to prevent other people from experiencing in terms of suffering. and believing that this is something they should be allowed to do. And I know that, they talk about doctor-assisted suicides and things like that. I know that this is a very controversial issue in the medical industry, and usually medicine and religion clashes when it comes to choosing life or choosing to not live, because it depends on what you think happens once you exit this body. What are you believing is going to happen once you exit this body? Are you believing that you'll be welcomed home and it will be understood that, you chose not to continue inside this body because it was going to be difficult or it was going to harm someone or whatever the case is going to be? Or are you believing that you just will cease to exist and there'll just be nothing? What are you believing is going to happen once you leave here? And I think that has a lot to do with people making what they feel like is a rational decision to exit. And I think if we are able to help people, or even have conversations like this where we help people think beyond what happens after I make this decision, what happens to the people who are still here, what's going to happen to me, where will my consciousness reside once I'm not in this body, and how will I feel if I see the pain that I caused by ending my life? And, what happens if I see that if I had stuck it out, maybe there may have been a cure, there may have been some benefit, and people learning compassion by having to take care of me that might have benefited them. Maybe there are some good things that would have happened if I had chosen to stay and go through this experience, even if it was physically difficult. I don't know. Is there a way to have these conversations about suicide so that people can, number one, see it beyond just, well, I'm just going to end the pain and I'll just be nothing. And number two, I am going to see the impact of how my death, my leaving this physical body through my own hands or, some other means, how that hurt people. Maybe if that understanding is talked about before they get to that crisis point, maybe that can trigger a memory of, oh, yeah, we talked about this. Well, no, I shouldn't do this. I don't know if once you get to the point of irrationality, is it possible to come back to a memory planted somewhere in your past that this is something that would be hurtful to other people, that would make people able to grasp onto that and not fall into the depression that makes them decide to end their lives?
Well, of course. I think that is, let me talk about what I feel deep down inside and listen and have be receptive to somebody else's words. Again, suicide is so many different ways a person can think when it comes to suicide, because we've seen that. We've seen evidence where they would literally do it with people or they would do it independent. You know what I'm saying? So it just depends on just the factors, the present factors. It will be a wonderful thing if we can convince them, oh, you don't have to leave this earth to change things. Or, let's find another way of doing it. It's always a solution, no matter what it may seem like. It may seem like everything is falling apart from the seams, and you may feel that pressure, but again, there's always a solution. It's just that you have to wait and seek it, because I think that's what happens is people that think suicidal they lose a lot of patience. They don't have any patience.
Well, one thing I've seen that seems to trigger suicide is fear of public shame. Something like someone fearing that they're going to be sent to prison, fearing that they're going to be indicted, publicly shamed, going to prison, maybe even experience abuse in prison. I know I've known a lot of cases where, someone goes to prison and they're on suicide watch because, they're believing that this person is so depressed they would take their life if they had an opportunity. I believe that's the reason why they don't give them belts in prison, which started the sagging fashion, but they don't give them belts because they're not giving them a tool to strangle themselves. So, that's why people walking around in baggy pants, and to this day we're seeing people's behinds. So just in case you didn't know, that's where that fad came from. So they don't give them belts in prison, so they don't have a means to strangle themselves, because that was a very popular means of suicide in prison, and a lot of people tend to be suicidal in prison because that's a horrible experience. You got the public shame of going, you got the abuse once you're in there, and then you come out, your life is destroyed. So that's a place where people are often suicidal, and so what the administration does is remove the means whereby you could take your life, such as, a belt which you could, affix to something and strangle yourself. So what about situations where people are anticipating public shame, and so they end their lives rather than experience what they believe is going to happen in terms of public shame?
Well, again, they just don't want to face reality. Reality is whatever was created is that you have to live. You got to face. So you don't want to make any more choices. You don't want to have responsibility for your actions or none of that. You choose just not to be a part of it anymore. So when that happens, then you make a choice to exit, and that's your exit. That's your exit.
That's your
exit is just what it is. It's like, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to face anyone. I don't want to explain nothing. None of that. So it's an escape. It's an escape. So that's what happens.
So what happens with murder-suicide when people decide that they're going to take their life and it would be better if the whole family was gone? Whatever irrational thought that is like, I'm going to end my life and I'm going to end your lives too, so you won't suffer from my death because you're coming with me. I mean, what is the thought that passes through a person like that?
It's not that simple. No.
So what is that?
That's a minimum of thought process that person has. Now think about it. I'm taking my life. I've already decided upon that. I'm not going to live, because when I take your life, I'm taking my own. Automatically.
Right.
It's an automatic thing, right? And you do see some every once in a while will go through the process afterwards, because they know they're going to jail. They know they're going to get a death penalty. They know they're going to, and they may say, but those individuals that take life from their own children, their own family, you didn't execute, and you do this by your hands, and then you turn around and take your life because you don't have the guts,
you don't have
the courage to face what you've done. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to face your loved ones. You don't want to face the police. You don't want to do nothing. So you immediately just wipe the slate clean. So here comes this mass suicide of 2 children and a wife and the father dead. Okay. We hear that all the time, don't we?
Right. I mean, if he could have just started with himself, maybe that would have at least saved him. Okay, you want to kill everybody in your house and yourself? Okay, you go first. Because then everybody else would still be alive. So
I think it's an energy behind that, to be honest with you. I think it's a very negative energy that's behind that will literally take the mind, the rationale, the reasoning of that human being, where they, again, like it's called a threat mode, okay? They're in threat mode, and that threat mode becomes so intense to the point where it is a vacuum, and it's walking, breathing time mine. Time mine, not just line or area, it's a mind, because it explodes deep down inside that person, and then now we have all of these, the pain that's suffered by the families. I mean, there's somebody left over in the family, okay? We see this quite often.
Yeah, maybe like a child or something like that who managed to survive, but everybody else is dead. And I've seen those situations where the intention was to kill everybody in the family. Maybe a child survived the gunshot wound or whatever, but they're traumatized for life, because they lived through that. We got a caller on the line, and if you're on our switchboard now and have a question or comment for Dr. Debbie, press 1, and we will take your call. We got a few more minutes left, and let me go, if I may, to area code 773-450. You are live on Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. Please give us your question or comment, please.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
How's everybody doing?
We're wonderful.
Yeah, well, I just brought up the suicide thing because, in my case, my friend, we went to college together. He was the most successful of us. He was the head of Cook County Hospital, over Providence Hospital, and he was a great guy. He was a guy that didn't use drugs, he didn't drink. He was really an unusual person. But then I saw him that day. He was walking across the street. I thought to just stop my car and pop out and say, "Hey, man, what's up?" But I just didn't do it. Then I hear 2 days later he had shot himself in the head in Upper Michigan. He had all these different properties. He had a property downtown. He had a property out in Upper Michigan. He had all these material things. But later on, years later, I found out he had got caught up with some people, and they were all going to go to jail on a federal crime. So he didn't want to do it. He really just committed suicide. I thought if I had reached him, I would have at least told him, "Man, it's just a few years in jail. I'll visit you, whatever." But he couldn't figure any way out, so he took the easy way. But the sad part about suicide, I noticed, because a young man I know, he ended up overdosing and stuff, and his mama and his grandmother, they've been sick for the last 2 months because he's dead. Yeah, they had all this hope for him. He's a young man with all this talent. And I had talked to him, so he was getting back in his pathway, but he didn't have anybody to help him. They couldn't get to me quick enough to talk to him the next time around, so it just was overwhelming. Drugs took his life. But I would say to everybody, life is a gift. You should live, learn, and you should be about betterment. Find out who you are. You're not just here to make money. You're here to change lives and make things different if you find out who you are. Well, that's the challenge. If you find out your gifts and talents and your real reason for being here, you can help numerous people because we're all tied together as one. Matter of fact, it's so serious, I can't even drive by somebody in a bad situation without at least saying something to them. See, in church, a lot of times they talk about sinners and those that are straight and need to be saved. That makes no difference. At the end of the day, when you see people in trouble, you should care just even if they don't care. And we don't have that in society. We have competition. I'm better than you. I look cuter than you. I got more money than you and all this other crazy stuff. But until we stop and look at each other in the mirror as though we're the same people, we're going to have all these problems. But remember, there are some of us that are already making changes. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing until the next paradigm. Sure appreciate you all. Keep doing what you're doing. I got to listen because there's nowhere else to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Obadiah.
Thank you.
Dr. Debbie, what would you say to Obadiah to help him deal with feelings of guilt if I had just been able to talk to him? Because a lot of people, that happens every time someone commits suicide. The loved ones, the friends, the family, everybody says, "Oh, if I had just said this, or if I had just said that," and feeling like they could have prevented it, but maybe that person was already of the mindset, and no matter what you said, they had made that choice. How do you help somebody? How do you help survivors of suicide of someone else overcome feelings of guilt?
Well, we say this in the psychological world that suicide is a selfish thing, and most of all, even if you were there, that does not mean that they will not do it. They may delay it, to another time, and not do it in front of you. Because I don't know if the young man was by himself or whatever the case is, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to do it. Sometimes, we can interrupt the suicide, and you'd be surprised that you never know when it's going to happen. Because they don't often, again, it's not something that people, they go around, they may say vaguely, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow. Y'all going to look at me, I'm not going to be here. And you're like, okay.
You don't even know what that means until they do it, yeah.
Right. So love is one of those things that is very, it's a wonderful thing to have, considering that. And so how do you express love to a person that doesn't want to live anymore? How do you express that?
I mean,
I say this all the time. If you were right in his midst, just say, hey, man, I love you. Not like, why are you doing this? You ain't got no reason to do this, blah, blah, blah. Now, they're not thinking rational like that.
Yeah.
What they're thinking is that they have no other means to deal with this thing.
To avoid this thing they don't want to live through. Yeah.
If you're all alone. So when you express that hand out, it's like it's a hand out, but it's also a hand up. Hey, you ain't got to go through this alone. Whatever you're going through, I just want to let you know I'm going to be there. I'm going to do everything in my power, you know what I'm saying, to let you know that you have a support system. Yeah. And I know that you may not be thinking that at this very moment. And it may seem like there's no other recourse, that you have no other choice but to do what you got to do. But that's not the answer. That's not the answer. Someone cares. Someone loves you. And I want you to stay here. I want you to stay here, and let's work through this. Let me help you work through this. Let me even seek resources to help you. But just don't give up on me helping you.
Yeah.
So now you take it from that platform instead of trying to get them the rationale or trying to talk them out of it. No, you want to just be there in the moment.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll go through this with you. You're not by yourself. We can get through this together.
Yeah, whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
And you won't even have to talk about what it is that you're trying to run away from. I just want to let you know that if you just give me a chance. You ever seen a story that when somebody's trying to talk somebody down off a ledge?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, it's the same process.
Yeah.
You're negotiating with them. You're not telling them, hey, you don't have to do this, so and so and so. No, you're getting their mind away from the thought of taking their life. So you're throwing what they call a hope rope.
A hope rope.
You know? Yeah, you're throwing a hope rope. That hope rope says, I care enough about you to stand here and support you even in your pain.
Yeah.
Even in your pain.
Yeah.
And know this, it's not going to just stay here. This is only temporary.
Yeah.
I know it looks like it's been going on for years and years and years, and that's only because you've been feeding the seed. You've been watering the seed.
Yeah.
You've been taking care of the seed. You never thought about changing, another thought process. And because you didn't know there was another thought process to change. So let me help you. Let me help you rescue you from this right here, you know.
Yeah. We got another.
That's the way you have to talk to them.
Right. Yeah. We got another caller. We might be able to squeeze in before we go. 773-737. Your mic is open. Give us your name and where you're from and your comments for Dr. Debbie Green.
Hallelujah. Greetings. This is Mama D from Chicago.
Hey, Mama.
Radio Shalom, Grand Rising. Suicide is considered negative, but when other people pull the plug and make the decision for you, that's not considered negative. It's like you said, what you do to an animal when you think that they shouldn't be suffering, and you make the decision for them. But making the decision for yourself That's interesting. There was a movie, I think the name of it was Soylent Green, and the government decided about going home. Basically, it was elderly people, and they had this beautiful last image of when you were going home. So it was like a beautiful experience. But at the end of the day, the bodies of the people going home was used to make food for people to eat.
I remember that movie very vividly.
And you wonder when they use compost, and that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling with that. You know, was it a good thing when somebody dies and you use their body part to help prolong life of living people?
Well, that's another thing. You know, that's one of the
that's another thing.
That exists.
But I wanted to add this also. You were saying about the violence of abortion, not a woman's choice, because she's a trinity. She's part living sperm, living egg, and living what the two created, a living soul. So that's like you're killing the family, but you're not killing yourself. And I had never thought of that connection until this morning when you were talking about when people take themselves out and everybody else has to go along with them. But that's a kind of suicide because it's breathing. It's a living soul, and you decide that you're going to stop it from breathing, and that's an act of violence. So what do you think?
Well, you know,
about
Mama D, we got one more call, and thanks for reminding us that even of people who have to choose to pull the plug on somebody. Because I had a friend who recently, you know, his mother was ill, and she said, "Don't put me on life support because I don't want to put you through the trauma of having to decide to take me off." So, you know, that I think that was sensitive on her part because that is a thing that you end up choosing. We got one more caller so you can squeeze in. 407-701, introduce yourself and give us your question or comment for Dr. Debbie.
Grand Rising Sisters, you all have just been so healing and enlightening today. I'm just grateful for you. This is Beata, your Friday morning host for Health and Wellbeing, and thank you so much for another great show. And I want to just invite our audience to my show tomorrow. I have a special guest. He's an alchemist and a medicine man. And we're going to talk about how to stay healthy on a budget with healthy infections. Yes, I said healthy infections because we're going to take the fear out of germs tomorrow. So hope you join me tomorrow, Health and Wellbeing with Beata, right here on the Female Solution. And everybody have a great day. Go out there and get some sun. We need some sun. That might prevent more suicides if people get out in the sun.
Yeah, get those endorphins going and boost that dopamine and
yes.
That's what we need. All right. Well, thanks so much, Beata, and we will see you tomorrow on the Female Solution. Last words, Dr. Debbie, before we go.
All right. At the sound of my voice, I just want to, again, to reach out to individuals and their families. Please pay attention to your loved ones. When people are shutting down, quite often when they're doing changes that's odd, when they are not, allowing themselves to communicate with you effectively, and odd behavior, pay attention to, and love. Let them know that they have someone. Let them know that it's not about what they think you are, but what you are to them. That's the most important thing. Be that support, be that leaning post if necessary. You never know when one's mind is shutting down. You have no idea. It doesn't give us a sign. It doesn't give us a symbol. It doesn't make noise. It's a silent killer. That's what it is. Suicide is a silent killer. So I just want to express to you if you have had thoughts of ending your life, know this, that there are solutions. You know, you are loved. You are cared for, even if you don't feel it. But if you take the time to just love yourself a little bit more each day, you will start seeing a big difference. And don't let life make you